Right. So how do you calculate for the consumer, price index, CPI, consumer price index, and what is it? So the consumer price index actually measures the cost of living. Okay. It compares the cost of living between the two given years. That's what it does. It tries to compare the cost of living between the two given years. So therefore, the CPI, consumer price index, it is equal to the to the cost of living in the current year, of course, at time t. Let's call this time t as the current year, divided by the cost, of living, or the cost of the basket at time, t minus 1, or the base year. Let's say the base year multiplied by 100. Did you get that?
Yes.
Yes. So the CPI is equal to, I would say the basket, the cost of the basket at time t, divided by the cost of the basket at time t minus 1, which is the base year, multiplied by 100. That is how you find the CPI. It's basically that. Very easy, very simple. Maybe the question of the day would be, how do you now find the cost of the basket at time t? Okay, let me use some examples so that you may understand. So the CPI, to start with, it measures the cost of living, okay, of an average urban consumer. It gives us that cost of living. So from the practical sense, what you do is you conduct a simple research. You go into the urban areas, like in town, for example, Lusaka. You identify some homes of average consumers, right? Average urban consumers. Then you ask them of the things that they use commonly. Let me say just the basic needs, right? The basic needs that they need. Let's say number one, they need, maybe they need cooking oil. How much do they spend on cooking oil? Maybe let's say for a month. You're following, eh? Then what else do they need? They need sugar. Okay, we are trying to collect the data. Then they also need whatever goods that they need. Okay, whatever the amount, the number, the names of the items that they need all together, you combine them together, and then you go in on the market, you research the prices, you find out the price and find the average prices. So then you tag those, the quantities times the price. So let's say they say for cooking oil we get 2.5 of cooking oil times the three of them, right? This quantity is like 2.5 times 3, that is okay, let's just say they use 10 liters, okay, for 1 month. So times 12, that's 120 liters, right? For the whole year, approximately 120 liters. That's a quantity. Then multiplied by the price of this, let's say just a unit, of that. How much is cooking oil? Let's say cooking oil is 100 quarts, just a unit, and for that respect, let's say a unit is just 5 liters, right? Then they need to get about how many liters? They need, let's say they they need more of the liters, the quantities. Let's say they need about 150 liters or 120 liters. So you find that the price is fixed at 100, then you multiply by that for just for cooking oil. Then you go to the next good, right? You get the quantities, the total quantity they consume times the price, just like that. Then that's how you find the basket, the cost of the basket. Is that clear?
Yes.
Mm. So let's assume that you have the following goods that you are going to be consuming as a nation, right? So maybe we are going to have the following items. Let's say there is mealie meal, just a simple one, you know. The quantities, I'll put the quantities and the prices for different years. Okay, this is 20 at. Let's say this is 2020. Okay, and we say 2020 is the base year, and these are the prices. So the quantities of the mealie meal, observe, the quantities of the mealie meal in 2020 was how much? Let's say they consumed, let's just say they consumed maybe 20 or in kgs, and the price thereof, let's assume this was, let's say these are 20 bags, and the quantity thereof was how much? Let's say it was 100. You're following, eh? So the price thereof was 100, and the quantity was 20 of the mealie meal. The next thing that we have is cooking oil, right? It's cooking oil. And for cooking oil, let's say the quantities they have is 150, and the price of it was just the 50. You know, we are just making some imaginary numbers. And what else? What other commodity do we have? Any other commodity? We can just pick at anything. Okay, just anything. Okay, let's say they also consume what do they consume? Okay, let's say they also consume bananas. The quantity is 200, and the prices being 20 for the year 2020. You're following, right? Then in the following year, see what happens now in 2023, which is the different year. The prices of these same quantities have changed now. Okay, here you have now 120, here you have 79, and here you have got what? You have got 40. Are you following? I've just extracted three elements, three items only. So we are supposed to calculate the CPI. Okay, we need the CPI. So to calculate the CPI, what we need to do is, of course, for the year 2023. Let's start with the year 2023. The CPI for the year 2023 will be the costs of the basket in 2023 divided by the cost of the basket in what? In which other year? In 2020 times what? Times 100. Are you following? Hello?
Yes, I'm following.
Okay.
Just
So
let me know what the 2023 figures are. Is that quantity or price?
these are prices. Oh, thank you. These are prices. The quantity does not change. You are just using the quantity of the base year, and we have agreed that the base year is 2020. So we are just trying to compare, like, we are still using the same quantities, but how have the prices changed between these years? Okay, that's the use of the CPI. So let's do the cost of the basket in 2023. So it is quantities of the base year times the prices of the what? Of the current year, the summation thereof. So we have the quantities, they are 20 times the price 120, is it? Plus 150 times the price 79, plus 200 times the quantity, what? The price 40. You're following? This gives us, the nominal GDP of this, which is the quantities of this, the quantities multiplied at the, the current prices. Have you seen that? So that will give us the cost of the basket. What was the cost of living in 2023? just the price, the quantities of the base year times the prices of the current year. That's how you find the cost of living. What do you get?
I'm supposed to calculate.
Yes.
Sorry. We just get me calculate. It's 22,250.
22,250,
Yeah.
like this.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's the cost of living in 2023. Let's do for 2020. So the cost of living in 2020 is the quantity times the prices of 2020. 2020 is the base year in question. So you should just pay attention. They can give you even two quantities, okay? They can even give the quantities for 2023. But you should know that you use the quantities of the base year if you want to calculate the cost of living. Did you get it?
Yes.
Okay. So what do you find? Let's start. So the quantities at 20 times the price 100, right? The next one shall be 150 times 50, and the next one shall 200 times 20. Are you able to follow? So when you do your computation, what do you get as the the cost of living in 2020?
Um, 11,000.
11,000. Okay. So this was the cost of living. Then multiplied by 100. So can you divide that into that to find the CPI? Okay. For 2020.
It's 202.27.
Two, 202.27. Right. This is a lot of change, really. So amazing. So percent. Anyways, so 202.27 percent, which means that if since the base year, the prices increased about 102.27%. That was a lot, over 100% increase. But you can even see the numbers, how they were increasing. So the prices increased a lot from that time. But yeah, this is the CPI how in 2023. Then if you are asked to find the CPI in the 2020, you just repeat the same procedure, which means if you're doing the CPI in 2020, you will use for the cost of living in 2020, divided by the cost of living in 2020 times 100. So you find that the cost of living in 2020 and the numerator and the denominator will just be equal. So it will give you 1 times 100. So the CPI will be 100% for the base year. You're following? The CPI for the base year is 100% because the cost of living for the current year, because that time the base year will stand as the current year. So the cost of living in the base year, in the current year, will be equal to the base year. Okay, the current year and the base year are equal in the base year. Then you multiply that by 100, it gives you 100%. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Okay. So now, how do you assess inflation rate? Using the CPI. Maybe you have a question of assessing the inflation rate or detecting how the prices changed. Actually, inflation rate is very easy. The change. You just say the CPI minus CPI for current year minus the CPI for the base year divided by the CPI for the base year times what? Times 100. Have you seen that? So CPI for current year was 200 and what? 2.27 minus the base year was 100% divided by 100% times 100%. Is that right? What do you find? Okay. What do you find?
1.0227.
1 point.
1.0227.
Times 100.
Oh. It's 102.
102.27, right? Isn't it? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sorry.
Yes. So that is the percentage change in what? In inflation. So inflation changed by 102.27% within 2 years' time. The prices have changed since base year by how many percentages? By 102.27%. That's a lot of change, right? So it means that prices have been, increasing amazingly, like at a very fast rate. Is that clear?
Yes.
Now, basically, this is about the CPI. This is about the CPI, cost of living. Yeah, I'm sure you've understood what we mean by cost of living. Just get the quantities multiplied by the prices, and then you are fine. Now, let me show you something about the GDPs. Let's restructure the question a bit. And now assume that these are quantities. Even quantities have changed in the base year. See the quantities changing. Let's say these are quantities for 2023, and let's have the new prices for 2023. Want to show you something. We want to show you something. Now we have our prices 105, and this is 5. Raised to 16 and to 25. Have you seen that now in 2023? I've introduced new quantities, both now there are quantities and prices everywhere. But what I want to show you now is how to calculate GDP, nominal GDP. Okay, how do you calculate the nominal GDP? Have you ever heard of the nominal GDP? And in this respect, let's say the base year is 2020. You are given the base year. The base year is 2020. How can you find the nominal GDP for 2020? So the nominal GDP
I'm
is that
supposed to
GDP.
answer.
Yes. So the nominal GDP is the GDP that is calculated at the current year prices. So if you're in 2020, the current year prices that you use are 2020 prices and the quantities of the 2020. So in short, the nominal GDP is equal to the summation of the quantity at T times the price at T. Understand? So the quantities of that year multiplied by the prices of that particular year. That gives you what? And that gives you the nominal GDP. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's do for 2020. So for 2020, in that respect, it means that you get quantities of 2020 times the prices of 2020. So you say 20 times 100 plus what? Plus 150 times 50, okay? Plus 200 times 20. This gives us the nominal GDP of 2020. What's the nominal GDP for 2020, which is the base year?
You've
Keep
confused
these
me a bit
figures.
there.
Mm.
Is it about the 150 there? Or is it 79 times 60?
No, it's this one. Prices times quantity of the same year. You know,
Oh, we're
that's
doing for
what nominal.
2020. I was
Yes, for
solving for
2020.
2023.
No, we are doing for 2020. That's how you find the nominal GDP. And what is the nominal GDP?
$13,500.
13,500. Keep that in mind. That's the nominal GDP for 2020. Let's find now the nominal GDP for which year? For 2023. So it's still the same thing. It's quantity of the same year. That's the formula. Quantity of the same year. So in this respect, we're looking at 2023. So quantities of 2023 times the prices of 2023. So you just say, 120 times 105. This is the nominal GDP. Plus 79 times 60. You close, then plus 40 times what? 25. You add all these together. That gives you the nominal GDP for which year? For
18,000.
18,
18,340.
18,340. 18,340. That's the nominal GDP for 2023. Is that clear now? Are you fine with the nominal GDP? So the summary of it for nominal GDP is quantities of that year times the prices of that year. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now let's look at the real GDP. How do you do, with the real GDP? So it is the formula for real GDP now. It's this one. So real GDP is the quantities of that year times the prices of the base year. Have you seen that? The summation of the quantities of that year times the prices of the base year. So let's find the real GDP now for 2020. So we get the quantities of 2020 times the prices of the base year, of which now the base year is what? Is 2020. You have observed that. The quantities of the current year, which in that case, the year is 20, the quantity will be 20, times the base year prices, okay? What is the base year price? It's still 100, right? Plus 150 times what? 50, plus 200 times what? 20. Is that clear?
Yes.
Yes. What is the real GDP for 2020?
It's still 13,500.
Sorry?
13,500. It's still 13,500.
Yes. I didn't just want to say this. Yeah, I wanted to show you first. So get it now that the real GDP of the base year is equal to the nominal GDP of the base year. Is that right? So for the base year, the nominal GDP and the real GDP, they are equal. Is that right? Hello? You've gotten that?
Yes.
Okay. Now, let's find the real GDP for 2023. So we use the quantities of that year, which is now 2023. So quantities of 2023 times the prices of the base year. The base year is what? Is 2020. So we use the prices of 2020. Have you seen what is happening? The quantities are 2023, but the prices are for 2020. Is that right?
Yeah.
And what is the real GDP now?
16,750.
16,750. This is how you find the what? The real GDP for the year, for the current year. It is just quantities of the current year times the prices of the base year. That makes sense, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, you have known how to calculate the the GDP. Now, how do you calculate for the implicit GDP deflator? How do you calculate for the implicit GDP price deflator or GDP deflator? You have heard of the GDP deflator. It is also used to calculate the price changes, by the way. It is used to calculate inflation. So how do you use the GDP deflator now? Follow nicely. It's just like the CPI, but the way how we calculate it is what is different. See the price changes, how inflation has changed. So to find the GDP deflator, GDP, deflator is equal to nominal GDP divided by what? By the real GDP times what? 100. Is that clear? This one is a price deflator as well. It's an index. Okay? Hello.
Yes, sir.
So what is the nominal? Let's start for 2020. What's the nominal GDP for 2020? What is the nominal GDP for 2020? You wrote
Oh,
it somewhere.
sorry. My mic was mute. 13,500.
13,500 over the real GDP for the same year. It is still the same answer, right?
Mm.
Times 100. So it gives us 100% as the what? 100% as the GDP deflator. Okay,
Mm.
for the
Okay.
base year. Just like the CPI is 100% for the base year. Even the GDP deflator is 100% for the base year, which means that the prices have not changed in the same year. Like the change in prices is zero. Now let's do for 2023, the GDP deflator for 2023. Let's see what happens. What is the nominal GDP for 2023?
The what?
Nominal GDP for 2023.
With the base year being 2020?
Yes, nominal GDP 2023. What is the nominal GDP? What did you find?
With the base year being 2020?
Yes, of course. Yeah, but we want the nominal GDP for 2023, which simply means you are
18,000.
multiplying it. Yeah, 18,000.
18,340.
340 divided by what is the real GDP of the same year?
16,750.
16,750 multiplied by 100. So what is the GDP deflator?
183 16. 109.49.
109.4%. Is that right?
Yeah.
So if you want to see how prices changed from 2023, from 2023, from 2020 to 2023, you just do the same things now. Like you use the real GDPs, of course. The CPIs and the CPIs. Just do the CPIs, right? Say CPI. Oh, at the CPI. I'm using GDP deflator. GDP deflator for the base for the current year minus the GDP deflator for the what? For the base year divided by the GDP deflator for the what? For the base year times 100. You got it? So what was the GDP for the deflator for the current year? We want to find the inflation rate, like the inflation rate.
Oh. So what am I supposed to give you?
The GDP deflator for the current year.
It was 100%.
For the current year.
Yes.
For 2023.
109.49.
109.49 minus. Okay. What about for the base year? It was 100.
100%, yeah.
Divided by 100 times 100. Okay. This gives us what? What is the inflation rate?
9.94.
9.94 or 49. Which one is which?
9.49. How did you know?
Okay. So 9.49%. Yeah. Math does not agree. The way how the numbers are sitting here and the way how you said it would not just agree. Okay. So 4.49%. This is the inflation rate, showing you that the prices have changed by 9.49% since 2020. Any question?
No question.